a really big area of opportunity that I just feel like not a lot of people are tapping into at their fullest potential from a sports perspective. I think like we're killing it in so many other aspects, like the lifestyle, the beauty, the day in the lives, like all of that. We're like, killing it in that space, but like the sports space is like it's so nice seeing new faces pop up. It's like I'll scroll on TikTok. I'm like, oh, you talk about sports? Like, okay, cool. I'm gonna follow you. So it's really refreshing to see more women get into sports from that perspective. And even like behind the scenes too. I think it matters who your production crew is and like who's behind the camera doing all the, the camera work, the audio visual work, just as much as it matters who's in front of the camera too. It's like, representation and seeing people who look like yourself is so important, but having a crew of people that are behind the scenes working alongside you is also so important too.
Well, welcome to 2 Decades Deep, Bailey.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. How are you doing today?
Good. Monday, busy day, but started the new week, so always good.
Yeah, and I just want to say I'm so happy. Like, I know it's Monday, football, all that's starting up and gearing up for you. So I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me about sports.
Yeah, no problem.
And I think what's so cool about women's sports right now is just how much it's booming, not only in just one specific sport, but like across the board. But I also think that's like a direct reflection on who's reporting it. And it's been so cool to see how many women are in sports right now.
No, absolutely. I mean, aside from the women that we see on the court, on the field, there are so many women that are getting an opportunity to be behind the scenes, to be in front of the camera. And I love being a part of that action. It's so fun to be in this industry and see the new faces as the years progress too. There's like so many girls and women are getting involved and it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to dive all into that and just knowing a little bit about your past, your present, and even any takeaways that people that are interested in being in sports or even women that are in sports right now, they can take away from this. And we recognize that you are a sports content creator, a sports reporter, but then you also host Off the Record with Lachelle Smith, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and I know that that's your current, but I'd love to know a little bit about what ultimately made you fall in love with sports.
That's a good question. It's a combination of a couple of things. My dad was a huge influence for me. We were always putting me in new sports as I was growing up. It was gymnastics, it was soccer, it was basketball, softball. I mean, like literally everything that you could think of. He's just a huge sports guy too. So ESPN was always playing in the background at home. So I was just so used to like, instead of watching Disney Channel, I was watching SportsCenter. So that was a big reason why I fell in love with sports so early. And then I got to IU. I went to Indiana University, got to college. And it was a really interesting time to be coming in as a freshman. I started in 2018. IU had a highly anticipated recruiting class for the basketball team. And as you might know, like IU basketball is huge. Indiana basketball is huge. So there was already that culture that was instilled. And then on top of that, it was like, okay, this is the year, So I was coming into the hype of that. On top of that, I had a friend who was studying broadcast journalism at IU, and she was covering the team. So I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of cool, seeing what she was doing, posting on Instagram and everything. And, ultimately, like that kind of got me interested in the sports media side of things, but we can dive deeper into that a little later if you want to. But that was kind of the intro to everything. Like I said, influence of my dad and then influence of just like my environment once I got to school.
That's so interesting because I feel like, not in sports, but in journalism, more to say, my mom, she minored in journalism and she always had the news playing. She always had Oprah going through. So I kind of had that exposure early on. So I think parents are a direct reflection of sometimes who we ultimately end up being.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we dive into your trajectory, I do have a little game.
Okay.
And the theme of season 3 really talks about reflection and nostalgia. So thinking from that lens, we're going to do a rapid fire game. So whatever comes to your head, you can say it and then think about it from your former self.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Yep.
Okay. What is the first jersey you ever received?
It had to be Ohio State something. My dad's a huge Ohio State fan, and I became a huge Ohio State fan. I don't know whose jersey it was or what number. I think it's like number 1, but I don't know who would have been number 1 at the time I got the jersey, but it has to be OSU.
And was it football?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. What was your favorite sports show growing up?
I'd say probably Sports Center or 30 for 30 is a good one.
30 for 30. I remember.
Yeah.
30 for 30 is a good one.
Yeah, I love the storytelling aspect. So yeah, that's one of my favorites.
What was the first sport you've ever played?
Gymnastics.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in gymnastics when I was like 3.
Which sports broadcaster voice ultimately takes you back to your childhood?
Maybe like Brian Gumbel. He's a good one.
A few more for you. Who is your favorite sports reporter or who had the most influence on you growing up?
Maria Taylor.
What has been the coolest opportunity you've gotten to be a part of since being in sports media?
Going to the Olympics. Yeah.
Wow. Just casually said that. Favorite sports movie?
I love in basketball.
And lastly, if you weren't in sports media, what profession would you have?
Maybe a consultant or like, I don't know, something where I'm helping people, maybe like a nurse, although being in the medical field kind of scares me, but something where I'm helping people, making some type of impact.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it back a little bit. I know that you said we'll get into your trajectory a little more. So I know you went to IU. The caliber of sports was booming. Indiana is huge in sports, as you mentioned. But I'd love to know a little bit more about what ultimately made you really decide to pursue this.
Yeah. So going back to that story I was telling you about the friend that was in broadcast journalism at IU. So she was a senior when I was a freshman. And like I said, I was watching everything that she was posting on Instagram. I was like, this is so cool. Like she's getting to interview all the guys on the basketball team. So I decided to just kind of deep dive a little bit into some of the work that she had done to ultimately get her to that point. And I found this showcase page in Indianapolis called Prep Ball Stars. She had an internship with them. So that summer after my freshman year, I said, I'm going to try to get the same internship as her. And was still pursuing, I went to IU for marketing. So still pursuing that like marketing track and like had an internship with Roche Diagnostics in like Indianapolis, but then kind of made this like side gig internship thing with Prep Ball Stars. So I reached out to them on Instagram, got the opportunity, and that just kind of kept going from there. It's just like, I fell in love with it at that point. I was doing interviews for AAU games, like talking to little kids after they finished their basketball game. But it was so fun to me. And knowing that I was going to IU for marketing, I was like, let me still figure out how I can pursue this interest, this passion, but not divert from my major. So continued finding opportunities, work with the Big Ten Network a little bit while I was at IU. They have a student U program. Started covering wrestling there, and then COVID hit. Found some virtual opportunities. So I work with Athletes First, an agency in LA, and worked on their social media team. So they had some pretty high profile clients at the time: Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Chase Claypool. I was like doing some stuff with them. And then graduated, and I said, I love doing this, but at the same time, marketing is what I'm, graduating with. That was the degree that I ultimately left IU with. I had a lot of corporate marketing experience as well. So I was like, let's just kind of see how we can make this work, but I'm not going to go all in on the sports journey right now. Started off working with Oracle for literally 6 weeks, and then I got laid off. So that was fun, but it was also such a huge part of my journey. Is like, despite how much it sucked to come out of school and kind of feel like I was being set back months by not having a job, that day I got laid off was the same day I started my sports page, and I never stopped posting since. So that was ultimately kind of what got me to where I'm at now, and it's a long story journey, but what really propelled me into the sports content creation.
Yeah, let's go there for a second. So you mentioned that even though you were laid off, that in so many words, I don't want to put words in your mouth, probably was the best thing for your career, and it really jump-started you to get into content creation. But between that time of not having a job, can you talk about like what are some of the steps that you took or how you kind of kept yourself afloat? Because I'm sure there was some mental things that were going on as well during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of leaning on my parents in that moment. It's like I didn't really know what to do aside from just start applying for jobs and try to fill my time some way, somehow. So it was a lot of conversations with them. It's like, have you ever been in this position? Like, if you have, what did you do? What do you feel like I should be doing with my time? Like, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? So a lot of conversations with both my mom and my dad. It was a lot of just applying for jobs because ultimately, like, I needed to make money. I was living at home, fortunately, so I wasn't in a situation where I was financially struggling or having to like pay any type of bills or anything, which was good. But my goal was to ultimately, leave my parents' home and go live on my own. So yeah, a lot of just like applying for jobs and then just to fill the free time. That's why I started the sports page. Honestly, it was like I have all of this time. It was like I was working 9 to 5 and worked to, having that 8 hours back in my day. It's like, let's make it somewhat productive. And I always looked at the sports content more as a resume or a portfolio as opposed to like, I'm going to like do this to try to get famous on, social media. It wasn't that for me ever. It was really, I'm going to do this so ESPN comes knocking at my door because they see I'm posting content that is, resonating with audiences and I know what I'm talking about and I'm staying in the sports news cycle. So yeah, that was what that time looked like for me. It was just a combination of leaning on family, friends, support systems, applying for jobs and posting the content.
Yeah, a lot of people, including myself, can resonate with a job struggle during COVID. Also keeping yourself together mentally, but also still trying and putting your best foot forward in that. So I'd love to know a little bit about like you finding a different way to tell like sports stories. And something that I love about you is you said in a former article that you like to tell stories in the way you like to receive it. And so can you share a little bit about how you were able to find a unique way to tell stories? Because you want to stand out from other people. But can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I would say for starters, I felt like doing my storytelling through social media kind of put me apart because at the time back in 2022 when I started posting, there wasn't a lot of people who were like doing the type of content that I was doing. So I felt like that diversified me. But then when it came to the actual storytelling, I always went into it with a mindset of like, if I find it interesting, somebody else probably is. So I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about and how I want to talk about it. And somebody will probably resonate with it. And that was really just the mindset. There's no strategy behind it, really. It was just going into it with that mentality and like, ideally hoping somebody's gonna be like, oh yeah, this is cool. But like I said, there's really no strategy at the beginning. It was just let me just do what I feel like doing and hope somebody catches on.
And I think that really stands out because, I mean, including myself, I be doing too much sometimes. But sometimes we overcomplicate the way we go about anything, or when we're starting something, we want to look a certain way, sound a certain way. But you were just essentially being yourself. But when was the pivot where you realized, oh, wait, I think I can actually make a career out of the content that I'm creating?
That's a good question. I think I understood that there was money in content creation from an early point in this journey, but I didn't understand exactly how until I was offered to go on my first brand trip. And that would have been December 2023. I believe. I went to Vegas for the inaugural NBA Cup with Meta, and I got the chance to meet other sports content creators, and that was the first time that I met other people who were in sports doing content creation. So it's like that opened up a world to me that I knew other people were doing it just scrolling through social media, but just seeing like the capacity in which they were, that was the first time I experienced that, and just talking to them about some of the content that they've done, the brands that they've worked with, I was like, oh, okay, so this is like, and this is what you're doing full time. Like, oh, I could do that too. Like this is legit. So I think that was really the first time I was like, maybe I could make this a full-time gig for me. And yeah, thankfully that trip allowed me to see that world.
Yeah, and put me in that room for a little bit. Like when you were in that space, you were down in Vegas with Meta. Like, what were the feelings that you felt, like kind of just being in these rooms with other content creators, other sportscasters, other media people, et cetera?
Yeah, it was almost like a I made it moment, but it's like I'm far from where I want to be too. So It was very surreal. I was like wined and dined. They had me in the Bellagio. I'd never been to Vegas before. I was like, okay, I'm in this bougie hotel on the strip. Like they have us in black trucks going to different events and we're with all the athletes. Like it was so fun. And like I said, it was very much a, oh, I made it moment. But at the same time, it's like, no, like you're just getting a taste of this. And like, there's so much more to come and so many more like levels to this. So it was also a moment where I'm just like, okay, like let's stay humble to a degree as well. But like also like, you know, celebrating the accomplishments. Like it was a cool thing. And I feel like a big deal to me at the time. So it was just a lot of emotions at the end of the day.
Yeah, the both and is really important because I think we live in such a rat race culture. And also I think we're just taught to think about the next thing. And so it's good that you embraced exactly where your feet were. Something that you said is you recognized that you were going to new heights, but with new heights comes new challenges. We all know that. And so I want to shift a little bit. And, you know, I wonder how you were able to, or how are you currently able to stay grounded in something that's so competitive, because sports media is very competitive. And so how do you stay grounded through that process?
Yeah, a couple things. I would say my support system is a huge piece of just keeping me where I am, keeping me where my feet are. My parents, my friends, my close friends from home, you know, they are super duper supportive and always lean on them, you know, when times get tough. And then I have management. So that also helps a lot too. It's just like taking some stuff off my plate. I got a manager a year ago, a little over a year ago. So he was super helpful. I just switched to new management now just to kind of change things up and ultimately reach some new goals. And they've been great. So that helps a lot. And just, you know, allowing me to really focus on my craft and then make sure I'm still elevating in the process and like ultimately getting to where I want to be, you know, in my career. So the combination of those two things have gotten me, or like I said, kept me grounded and helped me reach those new levels despite the challenges that come.
And we talked about like the challenges within like maybe managing a lot or staying grounded in that sense. But 14%, there's only 14% of women that are in sports media. And so I'm interested to know if you've had any. What are some of the challenges that you faced as being a woman in media, specifically in sports?
Yeah, there's a lot. Let me tell you. People online are not nice. So
They're not.
yeah, that's like the number one challenge, especially being a woman in a male dominated field. 14% is a low number. I didn't even know it was that low. But it shows at the same time. It's like, you know, you go to different events and there's not a lot of women that are typically there, and there's definitely not a lot of women of color there either. But yeah, when it comes to just like being on the internet, there's a lot of comments from men that are negative. You should stay in the kitchen. You should know your place. You don't know what you're talking about. You've never played the sport. You wouldn't know what you're saying. And that's maybe the hardest thing. But even then, it's like at the end of the day, a comment is engagement, and engagement gets me paid. So keep it coming. You know, like I honestly welcome it. I don't really care too much. I don't read my comments as much either. It's like I got advice not too long ago to say, stop reading the comments and just keep it pushing. But yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge. Outside of that, I feel like everybody in the industry is so genuinely kind and so nice. And like, yes, it is competitive, but I do think there's a really good group of people that are out there to like genuinely help you and they want to see you thrive and succeed. So, you know, when it comes to like that space, I don't feel like I have that many issues. It's really just like the outside world looking in and being like, do you know what you're talking about? And it's like, yeah, I actually do.
Yeah, actually, I know a thing or two about sports.
Right.
Yeah, and I definitely relate to that. I remember when I was starting out in news, no longer desire to be in news anymore, but I got comments on like my outfits and stop changing your hair. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with the content I'm producing.
Right.
And so I'm going to be honest, I did take it to heart. Can you recall a time, I know that you said like now it's kind of just like whatever, like it's still engagement at the end of the day, but can you recall a time where you really maybe did take it in and how you were ultimately able to overcome that? Because I know a lot of people are hindered by the opinions of other people.
Yeah. No, there's definitely been times, especially early on when I was posting. And I'll admit, like, there's mistakes in some of my reporting. There's just like some of the takes that I did were probably a bit off. And I know people had some things to say. There's been multiple times where the comments have outweighed the likes and it's just like all negativity. And, I read them and I would feel a type of way. And then I would tell my friends and they would start commenting back at people. So that's,
I know that's right.
right. I got supportive friends. And it was funny. I think that was the thing too, is like, okay, yeah, like, haha, like, let's, combat these people in the comments. But at the same time, it was kind of like just a way to kind of laugh it off and keep it pushing. So, thankfully, like they've been around to be the positive light amongst the haters. So, but yeah, like I said, that's something I don't even bother with anymore. I'm like, don't be keyboard warriors for me. Like, it's fine. Just let them live. Let them live. It's literally okay.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, you've mentioned your friends and you've mentioned your parents several times. I'm interested to know what advice or what is something that you really like to do outside of your profession that really keeps you in a healthy space, mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a lot of free time in my life because I do, outside of being a sports reporter, sports content creator, I work a 9 to 5 that is like so completely separate from the sports world. So that is still very much like a part of my life and takes up majority of my day, Monday through Friday. But yeah, so free time is limited, but when I do have it, I love to spend time outside. I love going on bike rides along the lake, walking around the city. If I can spend time with friends as much as I can, I will. Trying new restaurants, just going out in Chicago, traveling. While I don't get to do that so much for like personal pleasure as much, I will try to find those moments, even if it's just like a trip back home to Indy, or like a road trip to like Nashville or Detroit, where some of my friends are. But yeah, it's just like the little things that kind of keep me going for real. It's like nothing too extravagant, nothing too crazy.
I had no idea you still worked a 9 to 5.
Yeah, it's like my best kept secret because I don't tell anybody.
Breaking news. No,
right. You heard it here first.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, I'm in awe of you just about all that you are doing, all that you are managing. And it's so interesting because another quote that I love that you said was like, nobody cares. You got to work hard to get to where you want to be. And so what does that look like tangibly? Because I know everyone's like, work hard, or like, no one cares, start your content. But how do you actually put those steps in action?
Like in my schedule? Every day is kind of different, but it's very routine at the same time. So with everything's based around my work schedule, my 9 to 5 work schedule. So it's like Mondays and Fridays I work remote, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I'm in the office. Mondays and Fridays are my meeting days when it comes to the sports stuff. So it's like I'm meeting with my agency, I'm meeting with potential partners, I'm doing the brand deals, I'm doing the content then. And then, I'll get my daily video recorded, I'll get stuff up for the show, knock out any of that work Monday, Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I leave work at like 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm back home, I'm writing, recording, editing the video, posting it, responding to emails, and that's the day. Like I eat dinner and I go lay in my bed and I watch like whatever game's on. And I do that on Wednesday and I do that on Thursday. And then like now I'm starting to get into doing a little bit more content on the weekend to show people like, hey, yeah, like I do cover sports, but there's also like this life as a sports reporter too. So like I want you guys to see that. So I also have been really intentional about doing content on Fridays and Saturdays and like doing this series of like sports reporters have lives too. And I'm showing you what I'm doing. So like I said, super structured. And then Sundays is like, I wake up, do the run of show and prep the graphics and get the stream set up, have the meeting with my team and record, watch the show back, and it's bedtime. So it's, like I said, very, very scripted, very structured. I don't divert from it too much. And that's what works best for me. I'm not saying that's what works best for everybody because I don't think everybody would probably choose to live their life the way that I do. But that's how I've been able to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to recognize that it really does take a lot behind the scenes. I mean, we see the output, we see the shows, we see the brand deals, we see your social media posts, but what they don't see is all the late nights and all the things that you're doing on the day-to-day. And so I think that is an important thing to acknowledge because I think it's very easy for us to just see the other side of it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I do want to backtrack slightly because you did have like a lot of internship experience. You did set yourself apart when it came to college. So thinking about your college self, I'd love to know maybe what are some of the things that you really did to set yourself apart? Because I know a lot of people are looking for internships or trying to make themselves different from other sportscasters or other people in media.
Yeah. So I would say when it comes to experience, I had a combination of in-person and remote opportunities. So doing stuff with the Big Ten Network was a huge area of growth for me, that allowed me to get in front of the camera, like for real, like, and then doing live takes as well. So I would say like anybody in college that's looking to get those reps in and they're not in a broadcasting program or not in like a broadcasting track at their school, I don't know if it extends outside of that's like a thing that like SEC network has or ACC, but I'm sure there's other opportunities depending on the school you're at, but definitely something like that. Um, I think my experience with Athletes First was a really cool one too, because it allowed me to see the agency side and like also build relationships with agents too. As that's come in handy. At this point, it's like if I want to get a guest on, it's like, oh, I know Justin Fields' agent now, and I know his manager, and or I could go and probably find somebody else that's connected to another person, you know, in the football world or basketball world. So just having like an opportunity to kind of diversify the different areas of sports that people can be involved in. Even from like a team perspective, it's like it's nice knowing people in the front office or just like even in ticket sales, like making friends with people in those areas or just like finding internships that intersect in that way. I'm trying to think of other experiences. I feel like that kind of like caps it. It's like a lot of my internship experience too was tending to, you know, the corporate marketing side of things. So it's not like I had too much time to really dabble in the sports stuff over the summers, but that was, I would say, probably the two biggest things that really allowed me to get where I am now and kind of switch things up and set me apart a bit.
Something that I love what you said is like even people in ticket sales are also diversifying your network. And something that I've been leaning into and I've just been seeing a lot, I think Issa Rae one time said it, is like networking across. I mean, it's great to network up, but network across. I'd love to know, have there been any opportunities you've had where you've networked across or you've collaborated with your peers and that's been very beneficial for you?
Oh yeah, tons of times. So when it comes to collaborating with peers, one of my really good friends, Treasure Wilson, she is the host of It Is What It Is with Cam and Mace. I call her Stat Baby on the show. But Treasure, she and I are like locked in for life. We do just about everything together. There's been many times where she'll bring me along to things, I'll bring her along to things, and that turns into opportunities. We've done episodes where I'm on her show. There's going to be a time where she'll come on my show. So there's a lot of opportunity that's come from that relationship and just being able to work with her. It's like we have a great friendship. We also have a great working relationship. I guess in terms of like networking across, I'm trying to think. Gosh, I have friends who are like in arena hosts. That's led to opportunities to work with their teams. Friends that are in ticket sales. It's like, you know, oh, come to the suite that we're doing. Or friends that are in partnerships, come to the suite, come to, you know, this activation. And like that's led to an opportunity. I mean, even people who are higher up, my internship with Athletes First, the way I got that was like messaging the CEO on LinkedIn, and like he got back to me, and like that's turned into just other opportunities, other, you know, relationships. So yeah, there's plenty of times where that is definitely like not only like building those relationships have been great, but they have turned into greater relationships and just, you know, flourished into more than I ever thought it would be.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it also seems like, I mean, you spoke about your friend Treasure. It's like her win is also your win. And you all are also simultaneously trying to help each other elevate. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think sometimes just the trajectory of people's careers, sometimes people think about it very cynically or they think about it very individualistic. And so can you speak to how really community can ultimately benefit you?
Oh yeah, I don't think you could do this job and not have community. I mean, Treasure's just one of many that I talk to about work, that I like vent to about stuff, that we share our takes, we share our opinions, we look at games, we analyze, different things. We're planning events together. We're going to All-Star, we're going to Super Bowl. I mean, there's people who are in the content creation space that I ultimately, lean on in the same way, and even just solely in the sports broadcasting space as mentors that I lean on in the same way. But yeah, like I said, it's like I couldn't do this without having those individuals around. And like you said, it's like we're all championing each other's wins. It's like you're doing something crazy with your show. I'm gonna post it on social media and be like, y'all should check this out. Or even just like a little comment goes a long way. And then of course in real life, it's always about the relationships where the people are speaking about you in the rooms that you're not in are the ones that matter the most. And I feel like I have a lot of those people in my corner and a lot of those people in the industry as well. So it's nice to, like I said, have that community. And I don't think I would be here without them, honestly.
Yeah, I appreciate you speaking to that. And I would say similarly. I remember when I started this podcast, actually, I'm like, I don't have a videographer. I don't have the money for that. And my friend literally, shout out to Anwar, he literally would record every podcast. He would fly with me to different podcast episodes because I think that he genuinely wanted me to succeed. And so I think that's such a underrated quality in how we're all like trying to grind together, especially in our 20s. We don't know what we're doing.
Right.
And the exposure of other people really helps us. You mentioned, though, kind of shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned that some of your content that you're shifting towards is like showing the side outside of sports. And so I want to know, just out of curiosity, who is Bailey outside of Off the Record and the sports reporting?
Yeah. I am a very reserved person. So, and I feel like that does show at times, but it's like some people don't understand that if they're only watching me on a phone or on, the show, because it's like I have to be this personality. But yeah, very reserved. Some may say shy. But once you get to know me, I'm like a very goofy, like a little bit more outgoing personality. I think if you're asking like my friends or family, if they would describe me in a few words, it is, I would say definitely caring, definitely ambitious, very optimistic. I'm a super positive person. I know my friends will probably say that because I always like give them the most like, let's be the happiest versions of ourselves type of answers, and like let's not think negatively. So yeah, I would say those three words would definitely like come to mind if you're asking somebody else. But yeah, just I mean overall I feel like pretty bubbly. I'm not the type to be like down and out. I'm very nonchalant. It's like nothing really bothers me, but at the same time it's like I do care. But I'm not going to show it. But yeah, I would say that's like a pretty good synopsis of who I am.
Yeah, let's lean into the optimism part a little bit. So, I mean, we've talked about like, what do you tell yourself? How do you ground yourself? Like we've been talking a little bit about that. But what are some of the things like you say to yourself to hype yourself up? Because I do believe in affirmations. I do believe that what you speak over yourself and what you tell yourself that ultimately translate into how you operate in the world. So what are some of the things that you tell yourself?
I don't know if I say enough affirmations or if I really like in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if that's like that's not really a daily thing for me. And it's not really a regular thing for me. But one thing that I do have is a vision board that lives in my closet, and my closet is in between my bedroom and my bathroom. So I'm forced to walk by it so many times a day. And that gives me a lot of motivation, and that gives me a lot of inspiration, and I feel like is kind of my aspiration. And when it comes to like, when it comes to just like hyping myself up, getting into that groove, it's like I'm visualizing who I want to be, and that is there for me to consistently see. And I think that's my version of that, as opposed to, giving myself those words of affirmation. I'm more of a visual person. So that's my route.
I'm definitely a visual person as well. I actually have like on my screensaver, like all the people that I want to be. And I look at that every single morning. So I can kind of like a manifest it by looking at them. I'd love to know, just out of curiosity. So you said that you walk past that every day. Is there something on your vision board that you put on there that has since came to pass since you put that on there?
Ooh, okay. So I change about every year. So My 2024 vision board, I checked off just about everything, which was amazing. For 2025, Twitch is on there. So I got my show up and running. I'm on Twitch. I'm partnering with Twitch as well. So that's one thing that I've checked off. I have Kai Cenat on there as well, just as kind of like a, parallel to the Twitch piece. And not that that's like really, I haven't met Kai or anything, but like he's just on there. So I just put the two and two together. I'm trying to think. Taylor Rooks is on there because she's like one person that I really aspire to be like, and she has since become a mentor to me. We've developed a relationship, so that's like, I mean, I'm not at Taylor's level. I'll be there one day, but but having her just be a part of my journey, I guess I would say I checked that off. I have gym goals on there, so not everything is like career focused. So yeah, like being in the gym, I will say I've been consistent, so I'm very happy about that. Yes. Gosh, I have financial goals, but we haven't hit those. I'd be shooting for the stars with that one.
And we'll get there.
We will. No, we will. But yeah, there's a handful of things. I have to like, I have a picture of it on my phone that I'll like refer to from time to time. So I'd have to like really look at that. But yeah, vision board, it's a lot of areas of life. Like I said, career, fitness, relationships, financial, personal goals, and then everything has a Bible scripture next to it too. So it's also very, God focused. And, that's a huge part of my life, and just making sure like that's at the center of everything that I do. So yeah, that's, I feel like I've checked that off. We'll put that on there as well. It's just, being really consistent with, just my faith and religion.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's outstanding. I'm also a fan of Taylor Rose. She went to U of ILL. Shout out to Illini. But I think that also you mentioned like mentorship as well. And so you mentioned Taylor Rooks. Can you speak to that mentorship aspect? Because I think, going back to your point about we can't do this alone. Like I wouldn't be where I was today if I didn't have that community. But can you talk about the importance of maybe like leaning into people who have paved the way for whatever respected field that you're in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially from my point of view, like I feel like I sometimes lack confidence in myself because I didn't take the traditional route. So I look to people who did, and Taylor being one of them, Maria Taylor being one of them, Malika Andrews being one of them. So anytime I am around them, I'm always asking questions, and I'm always picking their brains because I just want to make sure that I'm doing things, I guess, not necessarily the right way, because I feel like there is no right way. There's so many different ways to achieve, our goals, but it's like a way that's ultimately going to get me to where I want to get to. So just having those individuals around who I clearly see are successful, and, this field has been so helpful in the fact that they've been willing to answer those questions that I've consistently asked, and they're like not annoyed by me, is like super appreciative. But yeah, I would say it's so important to have that mentorship. Just have somebody that, you can just be like, hey, like, look, you are bigger than me, you are better. And, in the terms of like, you've gotten to where I want to get to. I did an interview with Shaq, and he was like, you should interview Michelle Obama because she is above you and you have to accept that. Like, and I'm like, yeah, like that's so true. I'm not Michelle Obama. I want to be like Michelle Obama. And it's like, I look at those individuals, Malika, Maria Taylor, Joy Taylor, and I'm like, yeah, I put you in that same light and that same, mindset. And, I'm always going to be willing and open ears and just ready to be a sponge to whatever knowledge they're willing to throw my way.
Yeah. And being a sponge also, you will squeeze it and you'll help other people. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk a little bit about like the future of the rise of women's sports, the future of sports media. From your perspective, what are you most excited about, or what have you been seeing in sports media, specifically with women, that has really motivated you and you've been really excited about recently?
Yeah. I like seeing women get into the content space, and like it's a really big area of opportunity that I just feel like not a lot of people are tapping into at their fullest potential. From a sports perspective, I think like we're killing it in so many other aspects, like the lifestyle, the beauty, the the day in the lives, like all of that, we're like killing it in that space. But like the sports space is like, it's so nice seeing new faces pop up. It's like I'll scroll on TikTok. I'm like, oh, you talk about sports? Like, okay, cool. I'm gonna follow you. So it's really refreshing to see more women get into sports from that perspective. And even like behind the scenes too. I think it matters who your production crew is and like who's behind the camera doing all the the camera work, the audio visual work, just as much as it matters who's in front of the camera too. It's like representation and seeing people who look like yourself is so important, but having a crew of people that are behind the scenes working alongside you is also so important too, and just being seen and felt and comfortable in those spaces.
And we mentioned like what you're excited about, and you mentioned that like it really is important to have more representation. Is there anything that you feel like is a challenge or something that you would love to see in the future of women's sports that maybe you talked about the content space, but is there anything else that you feel like you want to see that change?
I would say more women in golf. Like golf is one of my favorite sports. That was the sport I focused on when I got older. Is like started playing that competitively. Would love to see more women in that sport. It's like you have the whole LPGA, but it's like you look at the major tournaments and you never see women reporting on it. And even on the LPGA side, it's like you don't see as many women reporting on it. So I would love to see more women in that space. I would love to see more female athletes convert into the sports media space as well. So like Candace Parker is a good example. Chinea Agumake is a good example. But, and so is Andrea Carter. She's a former basketball player. But yeah, just seeing more women, ultimately transition out of the sport that they're playing and, get into the media world. You see it with the men all the time. You've got so many former, NFL, NBA players that are commentators nowadays. So, allowing the women to do the same thing. But I would say those two would probably be the biggest like areas I would love to see us represented more, like golf and just, having that athletes and sports media pathway open up just a little bit more.
Yeah. And we're winding up on our conversation, but I have a few more questions for you. So you said that you took a non-traditional route to sports media. Mm. And I'm pretty sure other people are going to resonate with that. Especially like I was in journalism, then I went to marketing, and I don't know what I'm doing now. But I've definitely had like a different trajectory as well. And I thought it was very linear. So if you can think back to your 20, 21-year-old self, kind of like shifting gears a little bit, what is the advice that you would give to yourself, or what would you tell yourself?
Try everything. Literally just try everything. I'm such a breadth, not depth person. And I think that's been a huge advantage to me. It's like, just see what works for you. You never know what you're going to like. If you would have told me that I was going to be doing sports media, as even like in 14 as a high schooler, I'd be like, okay, like, yeah, all right. Like, I just didn't see that for myself. But because I tried it and I fell in love with it and like realized that's my passion, I'm here where I am today. So yeah, I would just tell people, just don't be afraid to try new things. It's just, it doesn't hurt. Worst thing that happens is you don't like it.
Yeah. And with that, I'm wondering what is something, you've worked really hard to get to where you're at, but what do you think is like one underrated tip you would give to anyone pursuing sport, any woman in particular that is thinking of getting into sports media?
An underrated tip. I guess just like, don't be afraid to be you. Just embrace who you are. At the end of the day, it's like kind of how I approach just my content. Is like somebody's gonna like you for who you are, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I feel like the biggest hurdle just with anything in life is being too worried about other people's opinions. It's like somebody's gonna resonate with you at the end of the day. So I don't know if I would say that's like underrated, because I feel like we talk about that so much as a society too, but that would be my one piece of advice.
Yeah, I think that is a good reminder though. Because everyone's like authenticity, like that word is such a buzzword right now, but it's like, what does that truly look like? And I think because some things are very oversaturated, it's easy to kind of like subconsciously adopt to someone else's personality, which I think that it's okay to kind of look at people for inspiration. But I think to your point, like it is really important to be who you are because someone is going to relate to you being exactly who you are through and through.
No, absolutely. Like you can't have doubts about yourself. And I understand it's so natural too. Like I have doubts about myself to this day, and I'm sure I will continue to in the future. But it's like, just do it. You know, ultimately it's like, just do it. Like, don't think about it too hard. Don't overthink. Just be you and just get that work out there, get that interest, you know, going, get those ideas flowing. Just do it, and just do it the way that, you know best, and that's by being yourself.
When we talk about legacy, I feel like legacy is such a big word. And like we're in our 20s, so it's like it's hard to think maybe that far ahead. But from where you are today, because you are someone who prioritizes vision, you are someone who's faith-based, what type of legacy or what type of representation do you want to present in your current moment?
In my current moment. That's a good question. Because I've thought about the legacy I want to leave, right? But in my current moment, I mean, I guess like the questions go, or the in the current moment, and what you want to leave kind of go hand in hand to a degree. And I would say, one of my friends said, you want to be Oprah, not Gail. No offense to Gail. Gail's great. But
Gail's great.
But I want to be Oprah. And, with that being said, one of my goals, and I feel like I try to do what I can now to ultimately make this happen in the future and leave this legacy, is to incorporate and include as many women who are interested in getting into, and I want women of color more specifically, who are interested in getting into this space, giving them that opportunity. Not that I feel like I gave a handout to my co-host, but like she's a Black woman as well. And it's like she's great at what she does, and I wanted to give her that platform because I felt like more people needed to hear her voice and what she had to say. And there's so many other girls and women out there that I'm like, one day when I have a network like OWN, and I can have multiple sports shows stream on Prime Video or Netflix, like you're getting a show, and you're getting a show, and that's ultimately like the legacy I'm trying to build in the moment long term, is just ultimately paving the way for more people to do what I'm doing, and they don't have to fight for a chair at the table or kick the door down. Like it's there for you. It's just come. You're welcome. And you don't have to fight for an opportunity. It's just there it is for you. So I would say that is how I strive to kind of live the legacy in the moment, and leave the legacy as well.
Yeah. And I see it. I see it in your content. I see just interacting with you. You're such a light. And I think that you really are passionate behind everything that you do. So I think this has been such an amazing conversation. And I just can't wait for women in sports, and women period, because it's a grind to be a woman in any industry, to really resonate with this episode and really understand that they can make way in this industry.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I've had a great time with you too. This has been a great conversation.
It's been such a kiki, right?
Yes. No, it's been so fun. And I love talking about just the journey and, everything sports related. So I'm glad that I was able to sit here with you today.
Yeah. And how can we support you? How can we stay in touch with what you're doing?
Yes. Okay. So you can find me on social media, Bailey Jackson Sports, on all platforms, Off the Record _ talk, I think is our handle. I need to check that. If it's not talk, it's live, but I'm pretty sure it's talk. I didn't set up those channels. But anyways, Off the Record on Twitch, on YouTube. And yeah, just, stay on top of the content, follow along with the show. We stream every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And you can catch our episodes back on Monday if you miss it on Twitch. So just, would appreciate the support for the content and just the journey. And, hopefully y'all will be seeing me one day on your, main broadcast for ESPN or Fox Sports or something, crazy like that. But yeah, in the meantime, that's where you can find me. So
Yeah, and I am very excited for your journey, and I think it's going to be amazing. And I'm glad that you are taking the active steps to achieve your goals, because it is hard. But I appreciate your boldness, and I appreciate everything that you're doing in the sports industry.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, we are uncovering who we are one chapter at a time, and we're unfolding at our own pace, and we're exactly where we need to be. Take care, everyone.